Hello, everybody. My name is Jonathan, and today I'm going to be talking about, and welcome to my channel. And today I'm going to be talking about a subject that's something that I've been studying for 30 years. It's a subject that originally started with the book Dune by Frank Herbert. It's been popularized by the movie, but the book is far greater and has complex philosophy in it. I recommend reading the books. The series, there's six of them in the original series. It's powerful books. But he talks about in Dune, he talks about higher order dimensions. He talks about Paul, who is the main character, and how he's able to move beyond space and time. And he has all kinds of things that he can do. He has a kind of a computer mind and all kinds of things. I'm not going to go into the plot of that book, but the idea is that there is this higher order consciousness, higher order dimensions. And I believe that higher order consciousness is achievable. It's a kind of we'll lay the groundwork here and see where we go from here, and maybe we can try to understand some of these complex things in life and maybe apply them to our lives and act out them in our lives. So we're going to start with higher order dimensions. From the quote from Dune, I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to go from there, and we're going to talk about what higher order consciousness means to me, where I see it in literature, where I've seen it in psychology and the Jungian perspectives, where I've seen it in Joseph Campbell, where I've seen it in a lot of the just general philosophy in Western and Eastern philosophies throughout our history of the world. And I'm going to try to step by step take a look at some of the stuff and go through it. But right now I'm going to read from the quote. He talks about, this is from Dune, and he says, and this is a reference to a quote that's referring to Paul, the main character, and what Paul can do. And Paul is, like I said, he has a kind of a computer mind. He's also trained to do certain things, pretty powerful. So the quote is this: in simpler terms, what they sought was a human with mental powers, permitting him to understand and use higher order dimensions. I'll read that again. In simpler terms, what they sought was a human with mental powers, permitting him to understand and use higher order dimensions. And with that, he's talking about, there's a group of women in it called the Bene Gesserit who had trained his mother, and then his mother trained him to see beyond things and to really look at consciousness in a very different way. Now, that's from a science fiction book, which I think is amazing context and genre to help us understand a lot of complex issues, problems, philosophies, politics, a lot of things in the world that we perhaps can't define or put into great words, so we use metaphors, and metaphors are used in science fiction a lot to help us understand. Also, there's hard science in there too if you read those things too. But I'm going to go and talk about, we're going to move in through this, and we're going to talk about what I think it refers to and how we can move about this in higher order consciousness. The truth is out there. The truth is out of the multitude of voices and theories behind those voices. And I think there's a great host of people that have come before us, many thousands of years before us, and some of us just a few hundred years, but throughout time and throughout our history, so many people have talked about going beyond just our normal habits, routines, instincts, those things that we remote, we go on remote and we just go over and over again on the same patterns of our daily lives. And what I'm trying to break from those things and try to expand beyond those things. And I think a lot of what our problems exist in is that there's a quote, and I can't tell you now, I'm going to try to find it. It says that all problems are all problems are psychological, all solutions are spiritual. So all problems, pretty much everything is psychological, and all the solutions are spiritual. Well, if that means spiritual, I don't mean religion. I don't mean necessarily finding some practice, though I do find that those things are important. But what I'm saying is that when I mean by spiritual, I mean that spirit is that which we live in, the consciousness is connected to that. And I think that's part of suffering, what we go through. Consciousness is that. We can define what consciousness is. I don't think we really have a good understanding. Even the great psychologists and the great those who have cognitive science have a good meaning. I think we are starting to understand more, but consciousness is a subject that's quite open, and we'll go about that more as we talk about consciousness and what it means. But right now, we're just talking about what a conscious, how to achieve, basically, just kind of laying the framework and groundwork for what consciousness, higher order consciousness looks like. I'm going to quote here from Albert Einstein as well, and kind of give you context as well on consciousness. This is Albert Einstein's idea on consciousness. The world we have created is a product of your thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. I or we want to change our thinking, no problem can be solved from the same consciousness that created it. We must learn to see the world anew. So we have to change our consciousness in order to solve the problem that we're being presented with. In order to do so, we can't use the same methods or same ideas or strategies that created the problem. We have to learn and to grow and transcend beyond those things and include them. Ken Wilber said that he's a spiritual philosopher, said that we must transcend and include that which we have been previously to our knowledge and wisdom. And that doesn't mean just individually, that means collectively. So when we talk about this higher order consciousness, we're talking about, we have problems. We're human. We have things that we can't solve from that same level. So we have to look at it from a different perspective. It's how we see the world, how we act in the world, right? So I'm going to go into this a little bit as we go through this series. We're going to talk about what it means to look at problems from a higher order consciousness perspective. We're also going to look at what it means to apply these higher order consciousness, where other people have come up with them. It's kind of throughout almost every part of literature, like I said, history and philosophy and religion and psychology and mythology and stories that we have told ourselves. It's everywhere, it's ubiquitous, and it has something that I think has great foundation for where we can go from here as a human race and where we can move to. So we have to first kind of state where we're at, where we come from, where we're at, and where we can go. And so thank you for joining me on this journey, and we'll see you next time.